On today's episode, I'm talking all about social media marketing for your podcast. Which platforms are the best and why should you use them? Let's get started.
Sound matters. Be heard. Welcome to the podcast where you get exclusive behind-the-scenes tips to make your own show sound truly spectacular. This is Podtastic Audio.
Hey, what's happening? How are you doing today? How is that podcast of yours coming along? I want to say thank you so much for being here. I am Chris, and I am from the original Chris and Christine Show podcast, which was launched in the summer of 2019 with no idea or strategy or goal or techniques or anything. Figured that out, and we made a little website, which is chrisandchristineshow.com. You can go ahead and check that out. But if you can't remember that, there is a link to it in the show notes of this very episode. But welcome to Podtastic Audio, where I designed this show to help you design your show. And that's what Podtastic Audio is all about, delivering amazing sounding audio to your podcast audience, no matter what kind of gear you have, no matter what kind of setup you have, no matter how you do your show, no matter how much money you spend on your equipment, no matter about all of that stuff, content is always going to be king, followed by delivery. A very good podcast really only has two things it really needs to be successful, and that is good content with good delivery. You handle the content, I'll help you handle delivery. I was just thinking this the other day. If you ever watch a stand-up comedian, or have you ever tried to do stand-up comedy yourself? I've tinkered with it, but never really gone up on stage in front of a live crowd. But a really good comedian can literally make you laughing and just rolling on the floor, dying laughing. And it's not so much of what they actually said, it's part of it, but it's how they said it. A good comedian has amazing delivery with good content. The jokes are clever, they're funny, they make you think, and the way they deliver it, a really good comic will make you just be dying laughing. They could be just saying, like, counting to 10, and you don't know why, but you're just dying laughing because they are so funny. It's part of the delivery, and having good delivery with good content really will help you out. So today on Podtastic Audio, I'm talking all about social media, and especially social media for your podcast, and what do you do with it, and what accounts should you have, and how do you promote, and all that great, wonderful stuff, because some people, social media is like a foreign language that's for the kiddos. I don't play with that stuff. Maybe you are old school and you go exclusively with an email list. Got an email, bunch of email accounts, maybe all your guests that you've interviewed, you collected all their emails. So now you have this great big email list, and you just promote your stuff via email directly out to your list. Now, the thing about email marketing that I have found is that how many emails do you just ignore? You never read, you never see them, you never open them. They just go into the spam folder, or maybe you're so backlogged on email. I know at one point I had like 30,000 unread emails in my inbox. Now, most of them are probably junk and things like that. Or maybe they're email lists that I have just never got caught up on. But I know some people live and die by having an email list, because with an email list, yes, you do have direct control over their email, so you can actually send them a note directly. Now, whether they open the note or ignore the note or goes in the spam folder on their email client on their end, it's really up to them. You really do not know. And I guess the same thing goes with social media, because with social media, you don't know how many people actually get to see the post that you make. And I do know that on social media, a lot of these platforms will only show your post out to a small percentage of your entire audience. Let's just say, for example, you've got 10,000 followers on whatever platform we're talking about today, and you send out a post and you think all 10,000 people are going to see that. Not true. You may be only a very small percentage of people actually see that. And I do know that some of these platforms will charge you extra money to put it out to more people. Your post will be seen by not only people that follow you, but people that don't follow you will also see that post. It's kind of like a pay-to-play platform. Even though it is free, it's just something to be aware of when you're exclusively using social media. Now, whether you use social media or email marketing, there have their pros and their cons. Now, when it comes to promoting your podcast across social media, there are a couple things you really have to be aware of right up front. One is that social media, when people are on social media, they usually like to stay on social media. So if you're promoting your podcast on a social media platform, hey, check out my latest episode. Check it out. Here it is right there. People usually tend to stay on that platform. They're just scrolling through, flicking up to the next thing, flicking up to the next thing. Whether it's a video or a post or a picture, whatever it is, they're just scrolling through, scroll to get somebody to stop scrolling and get them to jump off of that platform over to a podcast player and press play and listen, or even subscribe if they take it one step further. You're asking a lot from that viewer on that social media platform. You're asking them to do a lot right then and there. And when it comes to people to press play on your podcast, you want to make it as simple and easy as possible. The less clicks that a viewer on a social media platform has to click to get to your content, to your show, the less clicks you put in the way, the easier it is for them to press play. But the hardest thing is to get them off the social media platform in the first place. And the other thing really is that when you see social media numbers like 10,000 followers, 50,000 followers, just because you have that big following on social media does not translate into actual followers or subscribers to your podcast itself. I would say podcast followers, podcast downloads really are probably the smallest number of all the numbers. We're talking numbers of followers on TikTok, followers on Instagram, followers on your YouTube channel, followers on viewers, and all that stuff. The podcast download numbers have got to be the smallest number in the entire group. So don't be discouraged if you have, 5 to 10,000 followers on X Twitter, and then you realize your podcast may only get 100 downloads per episode. That's it's like less than 1% or whatever it is. I can't do the math on that, but it's a pretty small percentage of your actual, people that follow you on the social media platform, which usually is the case. So once we know that, don't even worry about it. And like I said, people moving from one platform to your podcast platform, from social media, to make that jump, you're asking quite a bit. You're demanding a lot and you're expecting a lot. And just to keep you in reality, that probably will not happen. So let's just say you have an audio-only podcast like I am doing right now. This is an audio-only show. Great. Now, how do you make an audio-only show? How do you do that with social media? Because social media really is kind of a visual platform. So you have an audio format like this, and you're trying to promote it on a visual platform like a social media thing. So what do? What do you post? Well, obviously, if you create individual artwork for each episode like I have, like each episode has its own standalone artwork. It can be your logo. It can be a guest logo. It can be something about the guest. It can be something about your show and the guest. It can be a variety of different things. Obviously, you want to post that stuff too. Now, if you're audio only like me, you always can do an audiogram or even a videogram. If you happen to be recording your podcast like via video, but you only release the audio part to the podcast part, you don't release a video to YouTube or anything like that, you can always take clips of your guest or of you interviewing your guest, and you can take that little clip, make like a 1-minute little reel or something out of it. You can post that on TikTok, LinkedIn. You can post it on Twitter, X Twitter. You can post it on Instagram. You can take that little clip of the interview, and it's got to be the best part of the interview too. It can't be like the boring part. It's got to be something so intriguing that based on that one little clip alone, you're going to get somebody to actually jump over from social media directly to your podcast. Now, for the record here, I have seen dozens and dozens, or if not hundreds, of podcast clips on whether it be YouTube, whether it be Instagram, whether it be wherever. I've seen these little like video montage clips of the podcast, whether it's an interview or a clip of the podcast or them discussing things. And even when they do them well with graphics and a lot of visual content alongside of them talking about the thing they're talking about, I've seen hundreds of those. And let me tell you, I have never, ever, ever have left the social media platform to explore more with that particular episode. So that's just me. I have never made the jump. So I'm saying that's what I've done. So it's possibly maybe you and maybe your listeners and maybe your audience have also maybe have not made the jump from social media directly to exploring that podcast episode. Maybe it's just me. Maybe because I'm stuck in the social media, I don't want to leave it. So I keep scrolling through it. Like, that's fun to watch. Great. Scroll on to the next. Scroll on to the next. So like I said, it's hard to get the jump over from social media directly to your player. So it's not saying it doesn't happen. I'm not saying it won't ever happen, but it's not going to be as big as you may think it is. So along with just posting, hey, I have a new episode out. Here's a clip from it, or here's the actual artwork of the episode. Here it is. Come check it out. And here's a link to it. Check it out. More than just that, what else should you be posting in your social media feed? Because most of us do weekly shows. So say you do a weekly show, you post on Wednesday, just throw it out there. So you say your new episode is out, check it out. Here's the guest, here's all your stuff. It's a wonderful episode. Here's the link, check it out. So you posted it once, maybe a couple times during the week. Great. But you should also be posting other things along with just the fact you have a new episode out, because people see, oh, I got a new episode out. Great. But also you want to keep them informed. You want to keep them entertained, and you want to keep them engaged throughout the week in between the days you do not have episodes coming out. Now, how do you do that? What do you post? So, for example, if you are a movie review show that posts things about, or even better, it's to say you are a Star Wars show. Star Wars, there's lots of movies in the Star Wars universe. There's a lot of television shows. There's lots of different things within the Star Wars universe. So let's just say you're a Star Wars, TV movie review type of show, right? So during the week when you're not posting, oh, episode 10 is out, come check it out, we talk about this movie. When you're not just doing that, you also can put things in your social media that are related to your market. So you can say, what are your rankings of the best Star Wars movies? This Star Wars movie or that Star Wars movie? Which character is your favorite of these characters? What do you think about this guy, that guy? You can post so many different things and still be related to your content, still be related to what your show is physically about. So on that Star Wars show, and you're posting all kinds of Star Wars content, you wouldn't randomly post something about, I don't know, maybe, a flower boutique somewhere, or perhaps maybe you post something about something in the History Channel, or post something about football or sports. You wouldn't randomly post that stuff because it has nothing to do with your show. All I'm saying is that every single post you do can be just more than merely, here's the new episode, come check it out. Here's episode 10 or 110. Here it is, check it out. You could also be posting other things within your niche that will keep your audience engaged and keep you relevant if you take long breaks like we have on the Chris Christine Show. We have a longer break going on right now, but we're still posting things within the realm of our content. This will keep you in front of your audience so that when you do release the next episode or you do release the next thing, people are obviously aware of it because you weren't just like sitting in the background not posting anything for a very long time. The more you post, the more exposure you're going to get. And it's all about exposure. It's like billboards on the freeway. You see a bunch of billboards, you're driving down the freeway, and there they are. And you're like, oh, okay, there's that one thing. And you see it every day. You drive by it, and eventually you're going to need whatever it is they're selling from that billboard. Like, oh, yeah, I need that one thing. Oh, yeah, there it is. Because it's always top of mind. It's always in front of you. Subconsciously, you're thinking about it because you see it all the time. And that's kind of the same thing with social media. I know you're not going to get a direct link directly, from the post directly to the thing. Sometimes you do, sometimes you don't. But as long as you're always in the forefront of your audience or potential audience, then eventually they will make it over to your podcast or your YouTube channel or whatever it is you're trying to push. Eventually they'll get over to it. Eventually they'll check it out. So when it comes to social media, there's lots of different platforms out there. So what do you think are the top 5 social media platforms that a podcaster should use to market their show and get the word out about their particular podcast? So here is the top 5 and reasons why, as a podcaster, you should use these platforms if you're not doing that already. So starting it off with number 1 is my personal favorite for promoting a podcast, and that is X Twitter. Now, why would I use X Twitter? See, X Twitter is a real-time platform that allows podcasters to share short, concise updates, episode announcements, and engage with their audience through tweets. It's perfect for that. I love the conversations I have on X Twitter. It happens in real time, and it's probably one of the quickest places to actually share and reshare content. It's also an excellent platform for using hashtags, which also can expand beyond your already audience. You can go bigger to a much broader audience and participate in relevant conversations. That's the great thing about X Twitter, is the real-time conversations that you can have about whatever your topic is, your niche, you're talking about on that episode. I think it's a great platform. That's probably why I have it as number 1. Now, following up to that, we got number 2, which happens to be Instagram, or I like to call it the gram. Now, why would people like to use the gram so much? It's more of a visual platform. So Instagram is a visual platform, making it suitable for podcasters who can create visual appealing graphics like your individual episode artwork. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. So you can create audiograms on there. You can do short video clips if you do a video show, and perhaps maybe you interviewed your guest via Zoom or Riverside or one of those kind of platforms. You can take the clips of your interview. You can post them there. You can do stories for stuff. You can do reels for stuff. There's additional opportunities for interactive and long-form content, which makes a fantastic place to promote a podcast. Now, if you have a clip of your guest, you can put them there, or an image of their guest. And also with Instagram is that you can tag a participant or collaborator within a post. So for example, say you put a post out, it's about you and you have a guest you had interviewed on that show. Now, let's just say your guest has a mega following on Instagram. We're talking hundreds and hundreds of thousands of followers, and you only have maybe if you're lucky, you have 1,000, right? So they have a ton. So you put them as a collaborator on the post. Now they have to agree to it. They review it, have to agree to it. If they agree to it, that post will go on not only your feed, it'll go on their feed as well. In front of all 100,000 of their followers will see the exact same thing that you posted. Now, it's great because you'll get a ton of likes on that post because it'll go in front of, 100,000 different people. So it goes in front of more people. Great. That's another way you can use that to kind of leverage your post in front of hundreds, if not thousands, of new potential followers and viewers. Now, the conversion rate with this, when it comes to getting them to follow you, is very, very small, probably close to 0, I would say. So you're kind of thinking if I put it in front of their followers and 100,000 or 200,000 followers see that post, they're going to follow me too. It doesn't always work that way. I've seen it in real time. I've seen it happen myself, and the conversion rate is very, very small. So don't be thinking that just because their viewers saw it, they're going to follow you too and subscribe immediately. It doesn't always happen. You may get viewers, you may get new listeners to that particular episode, but like I said before, it may be a trickle. It's not a waterfall of people coming over. So don't give your hopes up. If you do this and you realize there's not a ton of actual traction to your show, but you do get to be exposed in front of a new audience, which always helps. You want to grow your show, get in front of people who don't already follow your show. Simple as that. Okay, the next thing, number 3, is the LinkedIn. Now, LinkedIn is probably more for professionals and it's probably more for businesses. I'm on LinkedIn too, but what I've noticed on LinkedIn, it's a lot of companies and a lot of business people and marketing managers and things of that sort, all just kind of like patting each other on the back and kind of like, hurrah, hurrah, look what we've done. Our company's so great. Hurrah, hurrah. A lot of that stuff I've noticed that have been on there. So, I mean, LinkedIn is a professional networking platform after all. And it can be effective for podcasters focusing on the business industry or the educational industry. Like I said, it's all about the business people and the business side of things. So if you do like a funny show or a comedy show or a Marvel movie show or like that Star Wars show I was talking about, LinkedIn may not be your best platform, but it is a platform after all. It's a platform where thought leadership can be established and episodes can be shared with more a professional audience. You got that business show, you got that professional entrepreneurship show. Great. You should be doubling down on LinkedIn. Go all in on LinkedIn. Not saying you can't do the other sites too, but LinkedIn should be your first and sole priority, should be right there. That's where your audience lives, breathes, and dies. It's on LinkedIn. Okay, so moving on to number 4. Now, 4 is an oldie but a goodie, and that is the great Facebook. Now, Facebook has been around since, 2008, 2009. It's been around since like forever and a day. And I think Facebook really kind of gets a bad rap because people say the only people using Facebook are like, grandmas and grandpas that are on there to kind of view like their kids, stuff or share pictures of their grandkids and things of that sort. My parents use Facebook and that sort of thing. So, but why would a podcaster use Facebook to actually promote a podcast? Well, Facebook offers a diverse range of content options, allowing podcasters to share episode links, engage with listeners through comments, and build a community around their podcast using the great Facebook groups. Now, Facebook groups are an amazing place where you can create your own group and have your listeners be right in that group to discuss either your podcast, topics related to your podcast. It's also a platform where long-form content can be shared, meaning like your podcast, for example. Now, I would think podcasting really in the core of it all is long-form content, versus say like a quick little like YouTube short or Instagram reel or a TikTok thing where it's like a really quick video. And speaking of video, you guessed it, number 5 is the great YouTube. Now, YouTube is a great platform. I love YouTube. I've been on YouTube for a very long time. In fact, I don't post a lot to YouTube as I used to. And YouTube for me has always been the place that I would just put my videos on just to share them and check them out. I never jumped into YouTube thinking this will be the place to promote a podcast or grow a podcast. This audio show you're listening to right now, maybe you're listening to it on YouTube. It is on YouTube via just an audio format. Now, thank you to Libsyn, the host provider for this podcast. As part of their package, they will upload and send over your audio podcast directly over to YouTube in a nice little video platform. Even though it's audio, it'll just be a still image of the graphic for that episode. Now, this is why having individual artwork really comes in handy. So I'll make a visual artwork for this episode after I'm done recording it. And that artwork will be the centerpiece for the YouTube video for this actual episode. You'll be able to hear it like you're hearing it right now. And all you'll see will be a still image of whatever graphic artwork I have chosen for that episode. You see, while YouTube is primarily, a video platform, YouTube is increasingly used by podcasters to create video versions of their episodes, audiograms, and highlight clips. This can attract new audience and provide additional visibility because one thing YouTube is very good at is keeping you on the platform and sharing your content to people that don't usually subscribe to you. I know they say, oh, it's all about the subscribers. I got to get the subscribers. I subscribe to probably, 100 or so different channels. I don't even know how many. If I see one, I'll hit subscribe, whatever. But just because I hit subscribe does not mean I'm actually watching their videos. I'm getting fed lots of other videos because YouTube knows their algorithm is very smart and it actually knows which videos you have watched, what style of video you've watched, and it will feed you video content that you are not subscribed to. It loves to have you bounce from video to video to video. And I've done that. And next thing you know, an hour goes by. You're like, wow, I've just been watching video after video after video. And you may have watched like 10 or even 20 different videos if you keep on jumping around. And that's the thing with YouTube, is that just because somebody doesn't subscribe to you directly does not mean they won't be watching your content on YouTube. So when it's very important to note that the effectiveness of each platform depends on the unique characteristics of your podcast and, of course, your target audience. It's always about who your audience is. That's why it's very important to know who they are and how you can help them. Now, additionally to using these social media platforms to promote your podcast, it's also wise to have a dedicated website or a blog for your podcast, either or both being do the same thing on the same platform. A website can serve as a centralized hub for all your information, for all your links, for everything. You know, if you want to get a free Linktree account, you can do that and maybe get a domain at GoDaddy or whatever domains you want to get for your podcast, whatever your podcast is, .com or .net or .tv or whatever you want. I know the .coms are usually premium. They cost a little more, but you can go .net or .tv or .fun or is there .fun? Maybe there is. I don't know. But you can do a something else. It'll be a little cheaper. So, for example, if you're doing that Star Wars show, you can be like Star Wars podcast .stars. I don't know if that's available. And then you can have that linked directly to your Linktree, which will have a list of all your cool stuff. Your YouTube channel, your Facebook channel, your LinkedIn channel, your Instagram channel, your Twitter channel, Twitter X channel, your whatever. You can have a link to all that stuff on one simple platform. If you have a centralized hub where everybody can go to, because you just never know what happens if, for example, everyone's talking about maybe X Twitter going down or changing or disappearing or who knows what. If you send everybody to a central place like a website, that will never go away as long as you keep paying your hosting bill and you got your account set up with your GoDaddy accounts all set up and keep it going. You know what I'm saying? If you 100% rely on social media to do everything for your show and then you're dumping everything into social media, you always have to have a backup plan because sometimes these social media platforms just disappear. Hey, do you remember MySpace? Oh, MySpace was all the rage back in the day. Oh my gosh, I was a MySpace fan. That was my first taste when it came to social media. And I think a lot of people too. MySpace, the good old MySpace days. You could really tweak out your page. So if somebody landed on your MySpace homepage, you could have music, graphics, all kinds of stuff, all through some coding that I had to learn how to figure out. But it was a great platform. Of course, that died and Facebook took over and then everyone went to Facebook. And there's always a new social media platform kind of coming out. Now we got Threads that came out, which is the alternative to X, Twitter. But, it's not the same. It's just not the same. I noticed the interactions, the format, the way it works, it's just not the same. I love me some good X Twitter, and I'm sure you do too. Now, as I recorded this episode, as I release this episode, we are in Christmas 2023. Christmas time should be a time where you are with your family, your loved ones, and if you are worried about your podcast during this time of year, it is okay to take a break. A lot of shows take breaks this time of year, and don't let your podcast stress you out. Family is more important. Your podcast should be something that you do after you do everything else you have to do with your family and your friends and your kids and your loved ones. Put them first. Put your podcast on the back burner. Don't you worry. Most shows take a break, and we'll get back to it when it comes up to 2024. But you have a Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and I wish you all the best and all the happy downloads, all the happy success that brings into 2024. 2024 is going to be the best year ever. I feel it. Your show is going to be great. You're going to do wonderful things. And until next time, happy podcasting.